Good afternoon, everybody. Sports Information Director Jacob Horton here, and we welcome you all to episode 11 of AUM Athlete Access. On this, our final episode of Athlete Access, will feature our men's soccer program, and we have got a great cast today. We're joined by players and coaches of the past and present, as well as our current head coach, Matty Thorne. So what we'll do here to get started is we'll have each player introduce themselves as I call on them. We'll go down the line, and they'll just kind of let you know when they were here, and what they're up to now, since they've gone their own way from AUM. So without any further ado, we'll jump right in by introducing our first panelist, Michael Rich.
How's it going? Michael Rich, played at AUM 2000 to 2002. Currently in Lafayette, Louisiana, as the executive director for Cajun Rush Soccer Club down here.
All right, and next we have Nick Chamberlain.
Nick Chamberlain, I played at AUM 06, 07, 08, and in 2011. I'm now coaching women's football for a team called Throchter in the top division in Iceland.
All right, and next we have Alan Harwell.
All right, I'm Alan. I played for AUM 2013 through 2016. Right now I'm living in Alpharetta, Georgia. I'm working in accounting, so that's what I'm doing now.
All right, next we have current student athlete, Tom Carlisle.
Hi, I'm Tom Carlisle, current striker for AUM men's soccer.
All right, now let's introduce our coaches we have joining us today. First, we have Coach Brett Teach.
Yep, I was there from 2000 to 2006 and had the pleasure to coach a few of these guys on this panel. Currently, I am at Virginia Commonwealth University in Virginia. And Richmond, Virginia, excuse me. Alan, you live in my old neighborhood. I grew up in Dunwoody.
Woody, yeah, close.
Yep, very close.
All right, and next we have Coach Wolfkoch. Coach, we're having some technical difficulties. Are we all good on your end now?
Yeah, I can see you. I can hear you guys fine. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. We appreciate you hopping on with us. And our final panelist we have to introduce is our current head coach, Matty Thorne. Coach, if you don't mind, can you just give our audience, your career coaching backstory, your familiarity with AUM, and just how you were able to kind of come full circle and end up as a head coach here in 2019?
Yeah, of course. So obviously from Ireland, came over here 17 years ago. I went to Martin Methodist College 2003 to 07. And funny enough story, how I got to AUM, it was had an opportunity to do a coaching license in 2007 spring. I met Coach Koch, the gaffer, asked him, did he need a goalkeeper coach? And for the following fall, he said he did. And so I have a lot to thank for the big man. He brought me here. I wouldn't be here without him. Started my college career coaching as a GA, as a goalkeeper coach at AUM 07 to 09. We had some very successful years, which I'm sure Coach Koch will get into in a little bit, but got to the semi-final 2007. Very, very good team, excellent team, to be honest. And some players went on and played at the highest level. After that, had an opportunity to coach a Huntington College Division III school here in Montgomery, Alabama. Did 2 years there as a full-time assistant with Coach Kevin Ray. And then I was very lucky to start the inaugural program at the University of West Alabama. Get there for 2011 to start the inaugural team 2012. We've had a lot of success there at West Alabama. We won 6 titles in the time I was there. Very good memories. And then when the opportunity arose, I had the opportunity to come back home to AUM, I had to jump at the case. A situation where obviously I had the blessing of Coach Koch, which meant a lot to me. Had the opportunity, AUM, they have everything here from the facilities, the academics, the athletic program supported from a boss, Jesse Rosa, from the Chancellor, Dr. Stockton. We've got everything here to be successful and facilities here as well.
Awesome. And sticking with the theme, Matty, of that 2019 season, we come in, it's our first season of full eligibility within the Gulf South Conference, and we finished the regular season as the number 2 seed. And that was the result of just some really resilient performances by your guys. So my question to you is this, at what point, was it for you, you kind of had that thought where you said to yourself, this team's got a chance to be really good? When did you have that realization for last year's team?
Well, look, any coach going into season, you're excited. You're looking forward to getting a big year ahead. Potentially every one of us want to try win a national championship and win a Gulf South East Atlantic. Very, very good side. We had Florida Tech, another good side that we took the lead and had a difficult game against. Then we beat Florida Southern and we started to turn around. So it was around that time, maybe the second, third week into the season, we started seeing that we knew we had the talent, and the team, in fairness to them, no matter how good the opposition was, really stuck with it. We had a lot of talent, and the boys were ready to go to war with any team that came on, try to take us on. And we finished second in the league, and we were unlucky. We were almost just one game away from winning the conference regular season in our first year. We all know the Go South Conference, top to bottom, is one of the most competitive conferences in the nation. We had battles throughout, and we were very happy what we did. Tom Carlisle, that was here, he scored some very important goals for us. But overall, it wasn't just one player. It was everyone working hard, not just like the starting 11. We had a big squad to help the rotation.
Absolutely. And those watching, please feel free to leave us a comment, whether you're watching us via Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. We love to get some engagements from our fans and supporters, and maybe even some former student athletes themselves that have tuned in. Please leave us a comment. And if we have the time, we'll get to it and see what you have to say. Just sticking with that theme, Tom, I kind of want to ask you the same variation of that. The last question I asked Maddie, coming into camp last preseason, just what were your first impression of that group of guys? Was there kind of a shared belief within the team that everyone kind of knew that we were capable of playing at a high level?
Well, when I first came in, we had like 20 something other players coming in as well. So we didn't really know if we were going to click or how it was going to work. But during the season, we were playing some tough opposition in the friendlies. So it was a real test to us, and it stuck to us throughout the season. I think it was when we went and played West Florida, which they were ranked 6th at the time, and we bet them, then we started to kind of believe. But I think we finished off with a record of 9-6-3, and that was good. But I think as a team, we were kind of disappointed the way it ended as well, going into playoffs. I think next year will be a lot better because we'll have that playoff experience, which we didn't have before,
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I mean, that was a big road trip down there. We went to Spring Hill, the defending champs, beat them 4-1 off the number 6 team in the nation. But obviously, Tom, we set the bar really high last year just in terms of where we want what we want to accomplish as a Division II member. So, I mean, what do you think we can do to build off of last year's success going forward?
I think as well, we have pretty much the same amount of people, like the starting 11 that we have coming in. I think we lost Tate, which was our starting left back, but the rest of us, we kind of know how we play now. So that will stick to us as well. We're kind of comfortable with each other. And then obviously bringing in new lads as well that are going to drive us and make us more competitive as well, which will help us a lot.
For sure. And Coach Teach, I want to turn the attention to you here for a second, just for a little bit. AUM soccer, in our program's early stages, we put together some pretty good teams, but, one could really say that, we really took that next step towards establishing ourselves as a national powerhouse when you got here in the year 2000. I mean, right off the bat, we win 20 plus matches in your first 3 years, something that had yet to be done in the program's history. And we go on to have, 2 more 21 seasons, string together some really good postseason runs with some national runner-up finishes. But Coach, for you, what was that process like of just coming in and making out names for ourselves, and how were we able to perform at such that high level year in and year out?
Well, it was an interesting time, really. I had been the head coach at Georgia State University in Division I, and one of the players that I had in ODP, a guy named Junior D'Souza, who, Matt, you would love to have in your team right now. Very good player, had played for me in Atlanta and ODP, so I knew him very, very well. And we played them in a 7-a-side at UAB. So Georgia State played AUM, and they waxed us. It was like 10-6 or something in a 7-a-side. And I didn't really know much about AUM at the time. But Junior had been a good friend of, mine. His dad and I were good friends. His dad taught at Auburn. And so a few months later, things come on. Some things happened where, we were ready for a bit of a change. My family, I'd been at State for 7 years. And so I found out AUM was open. Junior's dad called me. That was like in June. It took him 2.5 months to hire me. I got hired about 3 days before preseason, although I was recruiting the whole time, which was kind of a crazy thing. I started recruiting about 2 weeks before. We got lucky and signed a few Icelandic kids that helped us. A guy named Dottie Jensen, another guy named Siggy Thorsteinsen. Both ended up being multiple All-American players for us. And really, we just came in, and I think Michael can attest to it. Michael had transferred in. I think we worked harder than any of them ever knew that they could. And we created a group that believed in each other and believed in what we were doing. And we weren't the prettiest team. We were really big. And so we were very direct. We had a 6'5" and a 6 foot. What are you, Michael? 6'4"? 6'3"? 6'3". Those were our two center. Michael was a small forward.
He's lost an inch in the years.
Yeah, and we just played it forward and got in, and we won our first 20 games. And then we lost a semi-meaningless region final. It wasn't meaningless to me because I hate losing, but we were already in the national tournament's number 2 seed, and then went out to national tournament and had a crazy ride out there. Got to the final, lost in second overtime, and really we found out during that run kind of what it was going to take to play with the Lindsey Wilsons, the Mobiles, the William Carries of the time. And we knew we were a bit short. You know, we were good that one year, but we knew we need to add some pieces. And so I just think one of the things that was really helped us establish, you know, consistency, because really winning is no good if it's not sustainable. I mean, it's great to win one year. That's awesome. But you know what? That's just a season. A program wins, you know, consistently. And so it takes, number one, you don't lose your players. So you keep your players, you develop them over the spring. I would guess that most of the guys that play would say we worked very, very hard, that we fought for each other all the time. And then we brought in some really interesting players over the next several years. And so every year we knew we started the year 10-0, really 15-0 if you want to be honest. And it really came down to how the 3 games that we had to play would be where we finished in the top 2 in the country or the top 10 in the country. Because there's no team in our conference was ever going to beat us. We lost 1 conference game in the men's side in 7 years. That was the Barry, and then we lost in the playoffs one time. And our women never even gave up a goal in the conference the 4 years I coached them. So it just was about consistency and performance and effort. And we had better players than most of the teams. I mean, listen, you don't win without players. The guy in the center of the picture here, and for me in the center, Michael and Nikki, you know, I got Nick, his for guys like that. We just were fortunate and blessed to have a bunch of guys who came together and played very, very hard. Even when we transitioned from having older players who came together and played very, very hard. Even when we transitioned from having older players to younger players, because the NAI went through a bit of a change where you couldn't have, you know, 25-year-old freshmen anymore, which that was also great. And so I just think consistency is a matter of what you do every day. And these guys bought in and played really, really hard for us, and you know, made me look a lot better than I was. So,
What you mentioned, Coach, another interesting factoid about yourself, you alluded to it earlier, men's and women's teams for your first few years before Coach Koch came and took the reins of the women's program in 2004. Can you just talk about what that experience was like and just some of the challenges you faced having to lead 2 programs?
well, the women's program was brand new. They had played 1 season before I got here, and honestly, it was in a shambles when I got here in terms of, you know, the coach had left late, and so recruiting wasn't done, and so, you know, they really felt like second class citizens at the time because they were new. Every other program at AUM back then were in the national Final Four every year. You know, baseball was excellent, men's and women's basketball were excellent. Everybody was excellent except for men's and women's soccer. And so there was quite a bit of pressure, you know, on the men's side because everybody knew we were talented. We just had underachieved when it came to national results. But on the women's side, they were kind of the one lagging behind. And so one thing that really helped was recruited Michael's wife, because she all of a sudden scored 80 some odd goals, and that goals changes everything. You can ask Nick right now, you score goals, you win. You don't score goals, you lose. That's just the way it works. So we were able to stack some classes. I'd be really, really remiss if I didn't mention my assistant at the time, Mike Mitchell, because he did almost 80% of our recruiting for the women at that point. We'd go together a lot, but he was really heavily involved in doing that. Mike was my best friend in high school and growing up, and he had gotten out of coaching. He had been with me. That was the 3rd stop he was with me, and honestly, he lived with in my house. My wife and I, every night we go home, we talk about how can we do this because we're 20-0 with the guys and the women we're struggling with. And so it was challenging, but it was a lot of fun because they were so different. You know, they were so different. The guys, you would come out and you could push them as hard as you wanted, and you could challenge them, and they would, you know, it was just a great. I mean, you cannot ask as a coach for a better environment than we had. With the women, we had to build that. We had to build the culture. I think when Wolf got there, I would hope that he would tell you that, you know, it's so different. The guy was very good at that point. And that was because, again, the ladies bought into what we were saying. But it was a long day. We'd start like during preseason, we would have 8 practices because we did 4 days. It was so hot that we couldn't go longer than an hour and 15 minutes or so. And we did do a little bit of work in preseason, didn't we, Michael?
A little bit.
So we'd go, you know, Mike and I would get on the field at 7 a.m. with the guys, or 6 a.m. actually with the guys, and we would finish at 8 at night. We didn't have lights back then. And so those days were long, but then the double headers on trips were long. And it finally came to a head in 03 when we lost. We'd gone to nationals in 02, done very, very well, got to the quarterfinals. That year was tough enough because we were split. Like I had to go with the men, Mike went with the women. I was supposed to fly back and forth, but the weather was bad. We were the first program ever to have both teams at nationals at the same time. I mean, and so that was a bit of a challenge. So I went to the athletic department and just said, this is not going to go forward very well. Well, as things happened, 03, we did it again. And so the thing that really killed us, we lost in a heartbreaking game to Thomas University in the region final. And I had to get in the bus and leave straight away to go to the men's match. And I didn't get a chance to console the team. And I went in and talked to our AD at the time, Dr. Elder, and just said, Dr. Elder, we have to get a coach in here. And I kind of already knew who I wanted, but he was great enough to allow me to have a big part in that process. And so that was a challenge. It was just more or less that you never quite were able to give the amount of time that you would have liked to either team. And you always had to make choices, and that was difficult.
And Michael, speaking of those early 2000s teams, Coach Teets just also talked about you were a part of several of those that really helped elevate our men's program, to that of elite status within the NAIA. Can you just talk about what that was like being a part of those teams and just how fun those deep postseason runs were for you guys?
I mean, the thing about it was all fun. I mean, the national final was played no different than practice was on any Tuesday afternoon. I mean, it was physical. We beat each other up. We fought. We argued. We got after each other. We made each other better on a daily basis, and then we went and did it to everybody else. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we worked harder. We were sharper. We were more prepared. The first year we weren't very good, but nobody could beat us. We just battled, and we were probably the most difficult team to break down you could ever imagine. And then the next year we were a little better. The next year, our worst finish, actually, I think we were probably one of the best teams that NAI has ever seen. Such is life, we had to play the region final against Mobile and William Carey all 3 years, was also a national semifinal. So, just special times in general, close friends from all over the world, all kind of different players. For me, I was fortunate enough to play professionally afterwards, and quite honestly, probably 6, 7 of the top 10 players I ever played with were at AUM, not at the pro ranks in MLS. So it just tells you a lot about what quality players and people that were here, and hopefully, laid some groundwork for the future of what's still to come.
For sure. Well, Coach Wolf, I want to turn it to you here for a second. I think, like we've talked about here, one of the things that makes this program so unique is how the position of head coach has kind of been passed down, and how the couple times we've made a change within our men's soccer program, the position has gone to someone who's already very familiar with the program and was already kind of on board with the vision set by his predecessor. In your case, you took the men's job after serving as the women's coach for a few seasons. So Coach, for you, just upon your retirement in 2018, what did it mean to be able to hand over to the program to a guy like Maddie, who you kind of helped groom as a head coach when he was an assistant with you?
Yeah, I mean, Matt plowed his own way, basically. He, like he said earlier in the introduction, he worked for us. He got his master's degree. He went on to Huntington, worked for Kevin for a couple of years, and then really got his feet wet when he started the program at West Alabama. He did all right the first couple of years, but once he got his guys in there, once the program became established and they had a vision, they had a philosophy and all those kind of things, he did extremely well. And, and Matt developed himself through all of this. And, it was a pretty clear choice for me right from the beginning when things came to an end at AUM that, Matt needed to be one of the candidates. And, fortunately, he got the job, and he's continuing the tradition that Brett set forth. And I was lucky to be able to continue that for the most part. And then Matt is now fully entrenched in the process of getting the program established in Division II, and that's the key. And he's done it before with West Alabama, and I'm certain he'll do it with AUM as well.
Absolutely. I think, Coach, we would be absolutely remiss if we didn't talk about that 2013 just a little bit here. We known as the Cardiac Kids around here, what you guys had, the nickname you developed for yourself, but you put together an amazing run all the way to the national title game. Can you just talk about that experience, the ups and the downs, and just what it was like to be a part of so many amazing finishes that year? I mean, it seemed like every other game we were going into OT or PKs, how many years do you think that season took off your life, Coach?
Well, look at my hairline right now. Is none. I mean, the season itself was very good. We had a couple great wins during the regular season, and couple injuries, and I think we all came together at the right time. I mean, you have to give the team credit in terms of just battling and fighting and winning and dueling and doing everything. I mean, it started with the first round of the national tournament against Thomas when we actually had lost the game in penalty kicks.
Yeah.
Referee called it back because the goalkeeper moved too soon, and our guy got to shoot again, and he made it, and then moved on to Benedictine. That went into overtime, and then or penalties, and then Oklahoma Wesleyan went into overtime, and we won it on a long ball into the box, and the goalkeeper dropped it in. Cesar Kestring was there and tapped it home. And then obviously the semifinal then against Lindsey Wilson, where we tied it up with 1 second left in the game. And then we had a guy even send off, and then Elva won it in overtime when two Lindsey guys ran into each other. And his first attempt hit the goalpost, and it came back to his foot, and he tied it. So those were great times. And then the national championship game against Martin Methodist, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and we ended up losing in overtime. So that's probably one of the few times that I just dropped to my knees and started crying. It was disappointing, and I felt really bad for the boys who put in a major effort the game before, and then really throughout the whole season. I thought we deserved to win, but wasn't meant to be. And that was that.
Yeah, it was definitely a magical run indeed. We've got a question here from Tim. You said the team just kind of came together at the right time and just was able to play really well late in the season. But what other factors would you attribute to the team's success that year?
We had a massive German block in that group. And Kaiser was one of those guys. He played right back for us, and he was just a pit bull back there. But, he was very good defensively, and he was able to go up and down the sideline too. And, we're just, a lot of really talented players, but also not afraid to work hard. It was just a group of guys who wanted it really, really bad, and they never quit.
Cool. Well, Alan, I want to get a little bit of your perspective on that a little bit as well. I know you were part of the program during that 2013 year. I mean, were you guys there were times you guys like, all right, let's just go out here and win this one in regulation? I mean, was that just kind of a running joke amongst the team? It seems like every time we went out there, it was just coming down to the wire. But can you just talk about your experience from that year?
Like Wolf said, I feel like everybody in the team just didn't have any quit in them. Like, we knew that at the end of the day, we were going to win. Most of the time, it took too long. So that season really it was exhausting, really. And we made it to the tournament. I remember that they made us play 4 games in 5 days. And this being in December, we were tired, but we always found a way to win. And Wolf kind of summarizing that run kind of brought back that feeling of how everybody was at that last game. Because, I don't know, it was just a great experience. I miss everybody on that team, really. It was a great experience.
Absolutely. And you were a guy that was fortunate enough to be here for all 4 years as a collegiate. Do you have just a favorite moment or memory you kind of go back to when you think about AUM, being a part of the program, or any kind of special? I know we can highlight the 2013 season, but is there anything for you that sticks out a little bit more personally when we're talking about favorite moments, favorite memories, things like that?
I guess favorite memory would be from that season when we played Martin Methodist the first time in Tennessee. We were in double overtime, of course, and there was about 10 seconds left, and Viggy had the ball and kicked all the way up the field, and I just remember the announcer and count down 5-4, and I just turned and took a shot, and somehow it went in. I didn't even see it go in, but it went off the post, and we won that game with like 2 seconds left. And I remember I think they recorded every game, and we tried to get that recording from them, but somehow they didn't have it somehow. But little did we know we were going to play them again, and the exact opposite was going to happen. So I would think that would be my favorite moment.
Sure. And Nick, I appreciate you hanging on here and being patient with us. It's your turn now. I just wanted to save this question for you because I think it's going to kind of open us up to some other discussions among our group here. You bring a very interesting perspective into today's chat because you had the privilege of playing for all three of our coaches that are in the chat today while you're at AUM. Maddie as a grad assistant, and then Coach Kacha and Coach Teach. So I think you can provide us with some very interesting insight about our head coaches. Can you just talk a little bit about what it was like playing for all three and some of the differences in their styles that kind of made them the great coaches that they are?
Yeah, I mean, I came across, was it 06? So I was only a teach for one semester. And, I was a lost kid off the boat. The first time that I'd been away from home, no idea what was going on. I think I got my I-20 and everything sorted like 3 days before I was meant to be out there. But as, just echoing what Michael said, I just remember it was just hard work. You just got in there and just did the hours, did the hard work to put it in, and we got the achievements on the field. And going in as like a brand new freshman and playing in the role that I did, I think I was following from Yuri, who was, probably one of the, very good holding midfielder that I had, and that was my role. Teach helped me a lot just to kind of focus on that role. I mean, that was just literally my job to do, kind of just be a warrior in there. I certainly wasn't the most technical player in the world by any means. So my literally job was just to be nice and simple, just to win it and give it. And that's what I just got from Teach, just a real focus of what I needed to do and to be part of the team, and certainly the winning mentality as well. Just going into every game knowing that we were the better team. But then going into 07, I think Wolf was with Teach, they made me maybe the captain, and so then it was a big responsibility to be part of that 07 team when we got to the Final Four. And with Wolf, I mean, we also had Matty was there, and we also had Binny Guest, who was also a big help, the coaching wise. But with Wolf, he kind of it was more, I got more of a man management kind of more of a talking to from his style. That helped me a lot because obviously I had him for 7, 8. I was there in 2009 when I was injured, so that was a tough year. Then I was injured 2010, went home, and came back in 2011. So I had Wolf for a long, long time, and it kind of shaped me as a player that I left AUM into, that I ended up playing in Iceland. I kind of grew out of that, just being a sitting, holding player, to more of a box-to-box. My game kind of developed a little bit through the years that I was with Wolf. And then with Matty, I played in goal that 2007 year. So I had Matty as a goalkeeper coach as well, so I really saw that. Remember one time we used to have those hard, solid wood benches. Exactly. Right, Nick, what's going to happen here? I'm just going to throw the ball and you're going to dive over the wooden bench. Yeah, no worries. Don't worry about it. So,
on the practice field when it was just solid rock. It's toughening you up.
Man, those pre-seasons on the practice field, only could be on there until the Icelandics arrived, and then we were fine. Then we were on the main field. But with Matty, it's a grad assistant. So I mean, he's there, and he's more. That's a proper kind of liaison with the between the coach and the players. You know, you kind of have someone that's similar around your sort of age, and you kind of have a little bit more social with. So it was easy. You know, he was good to be a liaison officer almost between the two, and just brought a lot of comedy to what was going on. And it was a massive. It was a lot of fun. Definitely those years that I had there, and I was there with 13 because I was there doing my masters as well at AUM. So I was there for I think about a decade almost.
Long career, Nick.
A long career. Do you know they still owe me a couple of appearances that I think might get me into the top 7 or 6 or 7, and I'm fuming that they're not in there because I only missed 2 games the whole time I was there, the 4 years. Away to Bruton Parker and Emmanuel my senior year. They were the only 2 games I didn't.
You missed their freshman year when you got hurt. You didn't play a national tournament, remember?
I came on as a sub.
Yeah, but you couldn't play.
my knee was like that. It was taped up, and then we've got a brace on it, and I'm stumbling around the field, just kicking people. And
was it MCL? Wasn't it MCL sprain?
Yeah, MCL. Yeah.
Hey, we lost our 6th 2 years in a row because Yuri got hurt. When I guess Wolfie, you were there when Yuri got hurt, right?
Yeah, it was at the end of training. He was just chagging the ball, and he backheeled it and tore his calf muscle.
Yeah, it was 2. And the way we played, as Nick said, we were so dependent on that role, being the anchor of the team and the quarterback. So, Nicky, I think you're a lot better than you just gave yourself credit for. You were very valuable to our team. We had a bunch of piano players. We needed a couple of carriers, right? And but a little bit more to you than that. I mean, don't ever kid yourself. You were the glue that held that team together. And we lost you, even though we had probably the greatest player to play there in Hirter. We didn't have the guy to hold everything together, and that was a big loss. That I think that cost us a run at the title that year because we just didn't have an adequate. We had lost Yuri, and we didn't have an adequate replacement. And we had some guys that could play, but they were more box to box. We didn't have anybody else that could do that job. So I think if I remember, maybe we played Marco or Eric Kiebert or somebody in there, and they were good players, but they were up and down type guys. They weren't guys that were going to sit, be disciplined. And believe it or not, even though Nick's like 5'3", he won every ball in the air. So he was incredible in the air, and that was something we desperately needed in our group. So
a big head of his, coach.
Yeah, that's fair.
Patty's going to petition for those appearances. We need to get those sorted out. All right.
I remember that. I think one of them was against Southern Wesley, and then something else like that. I kept saying to Tim every year, Tim, I mowed these 2. Yeah, no worries. Disappointing.
Yeah, I want to just say something about Nick in 2007, especially in the Elite 8 against Lindsey Wilson. We were tactically extremely well organized, and a lot of it was because of the way Nick played and the way he took the directions. I always thought that he was a top-notch holding midfielder, and he got a little bit more comfortable as he got older, and it's like he said, that's when he was moving a little bit more into the box-to-box situation, became a little bit more a scoring threat, and I think he had like 2 or 3 goals, which is good for him.
4, I think 4. It was in 2011.
He was not the scoring threat in 2006.
And add a couple of those to the petition too, just for good times.
Hey, Wolf, off topic. You should tell the story about the fabric softener washing the jerseys.
So that was one of his one of Coach Thorne's responsibilities as a grad assistant at the national tournament. Since we were the 10th seed, I think, we were always playing in dark every day, and Matt and Robbie Milner had to wash the uniforms, which was just bright orange Kelmies, and they came back every day smelling really, really good, but they never got clean. So come to find out once the tournament was over that Matt never bought any laundry detergent I gave him money for. He just bought fabric softener. So
he smelled great though.
He smelled great all the time, but the uniforms were stained for life. So, That's I'm sure he's learned that as he grew as an assistant and then as a head coach that fabric softener is not for washing uniforms.
I mean, also just going back to that year as well, it was just like when we turned up to the national tournament, and obviously they did the walkout, and we were the first one, Auburn University, and then you had the Azusa next to us. We're all standing out there. We walk up. We don't have tracksuit bottom, tracksuit. So everybody's in there, whatever. I think the blue Hummel. Matty's wearing his Liverpool jacket. So we're all in drips and jabs all over the place. Azusa walked next to us, head to toe, identical in Nike. We're just going, this looks good.
Well, that's because you give them jackets like we didn't. That way you went out there, everybody wore the same jersey.
What's your point, Nick?
Huh? I'm just saying, it was just funny to just see, we didn't think about it at all at the time, and I don't really think about it now. But it just goes, I mean, I'm sure a lot of the teams that were just seeing us that were walking out thinking, who are these jokers? Scraping in by winning the regionals, and then, in that first 2 games, we were brilliant. In fact, even with 12 players against who was it? Who was the first round?
Oh, the the Southern Nazarene game when Blake Johnson didn't come off the field or something like that. He played
cool tactic though.
Yeah,
I know Blake pretty well. He probably didn't know he's supposed to.
Yeah, we play Southern Nazarene, and they were the 7th seed. We were the 10th seed, and we're up 3-0, and we knew we had to play Lindsey Wilson the next day, and so I pulled a couple guys off and substitute, and they scored 2 goals in the 85th minute to make it 2. And Nenad Kudic was in goal, and he was having a conniption. And
coach,
bring everybody back on, and somebody didn't come off the field, so we played with 12 guys for like 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, worked.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'd love to keep this open, guys, to our panelists. Just if you have any, former athletes, if you have thoughts on your experiences of playing for our coaches, or vice versa, coaches. If you have any memories you're particularly fond of, or stories you think might be worth sharing, please do. I'd love to keep it open just for a little bit here, as we've got a little bit of time to keep this going. Just kind of how we've been doing the last few minutes.
I mean, I like to say that I was just going to say, like the time when I first got there in 2006. Obviously I'd been through a bit of a change, but like in terms of the whole setup, around the field, you just had those orange picket fences or whatever it was. The gym was from the 1950s. Everything was rusting. But throughout the year, both the effort that's put in by the coaches and by the university to make it was now, like what it is now compared to what it was back then, it's night and day. And obviously I did my master's there as well. So I left in 2015. So over those 9-year period, I saw AUM blossom, and it's good to see now that the kids there now have everything that they need. And obviously with Matty there, can see he can, hopefully they can learn to appreciate what the whole everything the whole program went through from start to where it is now.
Yeah, Wolfie and I were trailer trash for several years. We had our offices out in the trailer, and I never did get out of the trailer. Wolf finally escaped the trailer. Now, as far as the field with all the shrubs, that was all Mr. Koch. I thought it was the stupidest thing I ever heard of, planting twigs around the field. That's what they were. They were literally little twigs. I told Wolf, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And him and Big Siggy started calling me the foreman, because I'd come in, hey, you guys want some water? And I'd leave. No way in hell I was doing any of that. But they were out there just for hours in the Montgomery sun putting out twigs, which was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then now you go back, and it's crazy how thick those hedges are and how you have to knock them down. And so my contribution to the beauty of the thing was bringing the players in and training the players. Well, everything aesthetically is all Wolf. I didn't do a thing with that. Wolfie was awesome with that. Wolf and I, when we worked together, it was a really, really smooth operation between us. We kind of balanced each other out. And I was very fortunate with the people I did work with there, on our staffs, that we were always all pushing in the same direction. Even when, Wolf took the girls over from us, it still was, we were still one family, one program. And I think that's where AUM's been unique. I've been at several programs in my career now, which is now 35 years long. And that's where we were unique. And I think it still carries on, where the program is a program, not just a collection of people. It is something that, a guy like you, Nick, or the athletic director, Jesse's been there since we recruited her in 2001. Michael stayed attached to the program. Michael and I speak, average, once a week, Michael? Wolfie,
Probably at least.
Yeah, at least, if not more. Wolfie and I talk all the time. We've done so much together over the years. But that's what it is. Once you're part of something special like that program, it stays with you forever. And, and Wolfie, I knew Wolfie was the right guy. Dr. Elder was very nice. He basically allowed me to choose who I wanted. We were on 3 guys. So anyway, the 2003 season, we're playing Spring Hill. And as we all know, Wolf has a slight bit of a temper at times. And he got a little bit angry during the men's game. Or no, it was a women's game, men's game, he got tossed.
No, we beat the women.
Yeah, and then you got tossed in the men's game.
Yeah, and then I got tossed in the men's game.
So after the game, we didn't have security at the games at the time. So after the game, Dr. Elder pulled me and said, "What would we have done if that big fella had lost it?" I said, "I don't know. I'd let you deal with him. I want to deal with him. You're the AD." And so, but I knew because of how competitive he was and how organized, because Spring Hill was awful before Wolfie got there. And so when I found out he was interested in the women's job, I bet I talked to you, 20 times that week to tell you, here's what you need to do, prepare, do this, do that, because I really felt like he was the right guy. And obviously when I left, I told Coach Kratz, this is the guy, you don't need to go look, you need to do it, because again, he understood what it was about. And AUM's a special place. It still is. And I think you guys like Tom and Matt, Matt, luckily you've been there, but the opportunity to create something that is lifelong there is unique. And I've been in a lot of places. I've been in Division I for 17 years. I've been in a lot of different places, and AUM's a little bit special, partially because the community of Alabama is a little crazy. So they love winners. So if you win, that community will turn out for you, and it'll be amazing. Michael, how many people do we get at games? We had people all the time. They'd line the field.
Oh yeah, 100%. They'll come.
They will, and they will support you. And now you get night games. You'll get those people. Obviously, you grew up there, Alan. You knew what it was like with us and everything. And at one point, and I know it was the same for Wolf, but for me, every coach in the community was a former player or assistant coach. Every single high school coach, every single club coach was somebody who had either played for us or had been on our staffs. Some of those who won't claim now, like Ryan Strong. Ryan, I hope you're listening. But, we did. We were very influential in that community. I know Wolfie continued that much long after when we came back. We brought VCU down in 2012, and it was an interesting. And I don't want to dominate this. So I'll let it go with this. But in 2012, we lost our team captain. He died in a car crash that summer. And so when my boss, who's also one of my best friends, and I were talking, he said, "Where can we go that will just get our team together?" And we both immediately thought of Montgomery because of my relationship with the community down there. We had a player from Montgomery, and we came down and we spent probably 5-6 days with you guys, Wolfie.
Yeah.
And we trained at the Y. They just built the stadiums at that point, and we were training at the Y. And we were, we ended up doing some stuff with AUM guys. And we had, gosh, how many people we had turn out for those games, Wolf?
It was packed.
Yeah, I mean, every inch of that stadium was covered on both the big stadiums. And it was just the coolest thing. And it was so healing for our guys. And that's what the city of Montgomery can be. I think that's the opportunity you guys have there. We probably had 2,500 people. We were expecting 40 people at clinic. We had 300. Yeah. Every field to Y was packed with kids. And it was because it was a testament to what Nikki, you guys did after I left, and what Wolf had done as the coach, and hopefully a little bit with, my time there, maybe some people that knew me there, because by then Michael had left. So I just charge you guys that are there now. I sent you guys a player last year. Hopefully we can continue to do that. Find guys, because that program's always going to be near and dear to me. I've always, and then Wolf and I have been friends forever. And, I'm so proud of the legacy that he carried on, and he actually advanced it from where I had it. So, and hopefully during my time, we were able to push a little bit ways. So just remember that, understand what you have. There's a lot before you. You got the right guy to lead you. So I'm happy about that.
Awesome. Well, I want to we've gotten a few questions over our time. We got one pretty early that I wanted to get to. Is from from one of our center backs, Andy Elkins, was wanting to know, Tom. Obviously, you had statistically, you had a pretty good year last year. I believe you scored 7 goals, and a lot of those you had several two goal performances over the course of the year. He just wants to know, what are your personal goals for the upcoming year? Do you want to get the hat trick? You want to lead the team in goals? What's going into the year? What are your kind of aspirations going forward?
The haircut.
I'm just trying to stay fit. I keep getting injured. But actually, I won a conference in junior college, so I kind of want to go out my senior year and win one from a 4-year as well. So I don't really care about personal stats, really, to be honest. If they come, they come.
Well, cool. Well, before we're getting closer to the top of the hour here. And before we go on, I want to kind of leave you guys with another kind of open-ended question here for our players and our coaches that have all been a part of this program. I just want to get this take from you guys. Just what did you guys take away most from being part of the men's soccer program at AUM, and how did being a part of that program kind of help shape you into who you are today?
I'll go for it then. Everybody's sitting in silence, nothing. No. I mean, as I said, for me, I was a 19-year-old kid that I had never even left home. I barely drunk or did anything at that stage. I go in to AUM, was just a whole brand new adventure. And I think the first 2 weeks, my dorm room flooded, so I was kind of living in kind of sort of damp, having to have a shower down in the sports hall and everything down there. But throughout the time there, I've met lifelong friends. It just developed me as a person, because the amount of different cultures that we had and internationals at AUM when I was there, especially, you had a bit of everything: South American, South African, Asian, mainland Europe, North American in Kiebert, who is a very special character in himself. Won't ever admit that he doesn't have any hair, but that's another matter. But yeah, for me, and then just throughout the time, and that's the reason why I went back for my masters. I finished my undergrad, and I just felt still a little bit lost in the world, and I felt kind of at home at AUM. So I had the chance to do my masters. I went back there, and so the whole, it's not as Teach said, Montgomery isn't the most glamorous place in the world, but once you're there and you're in there in the community, it just adds something to you. And for me now, coaching women's football, as I started high school in Alabama, and whether I've gone into coaching without the sort of coaches and guidance I had, I don't know, but that's, I think, helped me channel towards what I wanted to try and focus on as a career.
Yeah, I want to echo that what Nick is saying. I think the ability to build relationships way past retirement and way past graduation from those players, I think is really strong. It's really good, and especially this day and age with all the social platforms you have, it's much easier to stay in touch with them. And so, to me, character was always an important thing. That was one of the main recruiting tools. I always wanted to make sure that if we bring a guy in, he's got a good character. And the vast majority of those guys and girls certainly did. So definitely blessed to have coached at AUM, and and I think the relationship that we all have with each other, all intertwined, and I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, I would just say I'm really thankful for that time. I was fortunate to have had some really good teams over the years that I coached, not just at AUM, but I really believe coaching, being successful, is being the right person, right place, right time. There are a lot of good coaches. There are 100 people in the country who could have done the job I did. It just happened to be that for me, one of my 7 years there, I was the right person at the right time for that job. And it was absolutely the right job at the right time for me. And so I'm just really thankful and grateful for the opportunity to have worked there, to deal with the kids that I worked with, the student athletes, but not only just them. We had a really unique environment because for a while we had wives and husbands and craziness going on because we had older players, we had children, we had soccer marriages, Michael and Ellen. We had all, and I wasn't the only one. We had 3 or 4 others that were people who had met and now have had families. And So I'm just grateful. And then I just can't say enough about, Mike Mitchell, who was with me as an assistant. Then the opportunity to work alongside Wolf for many years, Siggy Sigvatsson, Dottie Gudjansson. I don't want to forget anybody, but I was really fortunate, to be around people that were, as Wolf said, I think he said it great, Wolfie, of high character, but more or less also people who were just fun, just great to be around. And I mean, game day at AUM was an event. It was an absolute event, and it was something that was, and I've been fortunate to have been in some big games. We played 4 national title games there. And probably the 3 or 4 best team performances I've ever have been at AUM. Michael's not wrong about 2002. We scored 125 goals maybe that year. That team was ridiculous, and Michael was a big part of it. Michael was the driving force of that team. Like we said about that, Mike was the first Alabama player ever to play in MLS. First player from that state ever. He was a pioneer for the state of soccer there, and he was in our program. So we were not. I think that Nick may have said it. Diversity and culture. We had Maceo. If you guys know Maceo, he brought a whole different world to us, and maybe the best player I ever coached. And then we had Christian Cuevas, who he was from Mars, but he was a brilliant player. Still one of the best I've ever seen. So, I just want to say thank you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have been there.
Yeah, I think I've probably come the most full circle of anyone growing up in Montgomery. Alan can attest to it as well. He was a ball boy at AUM like I was probably at some point. Back in the old days, watching games, doing those things, going away from my freshman year and ended up back, like Coach said, the right time, the right place. I actually almost gave up soccer and went and played football at Auburn. Decided to stick it out because it was my passion, and obviously it turned out right. And for me, it molded, obviously, my wife. I get reminded all the time that I'm not even the leading goal scorer in our family. But that's reality. So I just accept it and move on. But that, and then obviously professionally, what I wanted to do and be able to coach and give back to kids and do those things. I mean, you can see it with Nikki, you can see it Meshes in Africa doing the same stuff. And, you just see it from the guys that were around, the women, we were close with the women's team, those kind of things. And I think, you just see it. It starts with the community there and kind of just builds. I was fortunate to be the DOC there. I coached Alan for 2 or 3 years when he was young, and now I've got a couple players from my club here that are up there playing. So it's really come full circle, and it is amazing to see. Just walk on the campus, and Ellen and I say all the time, man, how do we end up here? This is the place we wanted to be. So definitely people all over the world watching and giving back, but also rooting for the next phase. So.
Yeah. For myself, sorry, go ahead, Alan. Go ahead, buddy.
Alan, I say, AUM really, taught me optimism, resiliency, especially with that first year. Because when I came in, I was kind of at a bad time in my life. So joining the team, meeting everybody, getting to winning, it was actually an amazing time for me. And I love where I am right now. And I believe AUM was a big part of getting me here. So, of course, I want to thank Wolf, Michael early on. I think I remember when Coach Brett was in Montgomery when I was younger, a couple times maybe. So, yeah, I'm really, really glad I went to AUM.
For myself, I wouldn't be here. Obviously, had the opportunity, thanks to Wolf, thanks to AUM for the opportunity to do my masters here. And then I was very lucky to come back here. When you just look at this panel, it's a panel of legends right here. I can only imagine the amount of championships between all the coaches and players here. Was it 4 national championship finals? It just shows something special about this place. It's not just about the talent on the field, it's the relationships you build, and then 5-6 years down the road, even longer, 10 years down the road, you have them relationships with the players. And for me, I'm very blessed to be in here. As I said, we just want to try engrave ourselves in history like some of these legends right here. And in the NCAA, we'll do our very best. Now, right, Tom?
Yep.
Let's go Senators. No. The Warhawks. Warhawks, yeah.
So Tom was your leading scorer, Matt, this year, right? Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, you only got 136 to catch your to.
In 1 year, I'll try my best.
Yeah, well, you might have a year like you never know.
He's still attempting to score goals here in the fourth division.
I know, I saw him. He's
I think I still got like 100 to catch up there too.
Everybody does.
Man.
Guys, we appreciate you hopping on as we get to the 4 o'clock hour here. That's about going to wrap us up. We appreciate you guys hopping on and just taking the time to be a part of this. This has been so fun to be able to do this for the last 11 weeks and catch up with all of our various programs. And this has been as just as fun as episode as any. A big thanks once again to you guys for just taking the time out of your schedules to hop on and just talk about this program and how each person was able to contribute to it. As always, thanks to our assistant sports information director, Jason Martin, for producing this episode and making sure our people on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube can follow along as we talk about the program today. And as a reminder, this will be archived immediately after we're done here. So if you'd like to go back, panelists, people watching, whoever, and watch from start to finish, you have that capability once we wrap it up. And of course, a huge thanks to our viewers, for tuning in and taking the time over these past 11 weeks to hop on and for their support and their love towards the program. And this is not the end in terms of us hosting live Zoom chats. We plan on utilizing this platform again at some point very soon. We've had a lot of fun reaching out to former players and coaches, and we hope to continue that at some point really soon. So you can keep up with us on social media at AUM Athletics, and we'll keep you up to date on when and where we'll be doing that again real soon, hopefully. Like I said, until then, everybody take care, be safe, and go Warhawks. Goodbye.